video we are going to discuss about the different tissue systems that are present in a plant. There are basically three tissue systems. The first one is called epidermal tissue system, the second one is called ground tissue system, and the third one is called vascular tissue system. In this video we are going to focus on the first one, that is epidermal tissue system. So this epidermal tissue system forms the outermost covering, of the whole plant body. So when we learnt about the animal tissues as well, there also we have learned about the different tissues, that is epidermal tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue and neural tissue. There also epidermal tissue is the outermost covering of the human body or the animal body. Here when we talk about plants also, epidermal tissue system means it is the outermost covering. Epidermis refers to the outermost layer. Next, this epidermal tissue system consists of very thin cells with no intercellular spaces. So they somewhat look like this. If these are the cells, these are long thin rectangular cells like that. So they're very thin. It's a very thin layer and with no intercellular spaces. That means intercellular spaces are the spaces between two cells. So there is negligible intercellular space here. So everything is connected, tightly connected to each other like that. So they form the outermost covering with thin cells with no intercellular spaces. And there is a cuticle. There is a cuticle on the uppermost part of the leaf and the stem. So cuticle on the upper part, mostly the upper part of leaf and stem. And there is no cuticle in the roots. So cuticle is absent in the roots. So cuticle is like a part of the epidermal tissue system. It's the part of the layer of epidermis. So cuticle on the upper is present on the upper part of the leaf and stem, and it is absent in roots. This is one more important thing. Coming to the stomata. Stomata is also present on the epidermis and it is only present in the leaf epidermis. Stomata present on the leaf epidermis. So stomata are the little openings in which the air passes through inside the plant. So they are present on only the leaf epidermis. If we need to compare the stomata of dicot plants and monocot plants, dicot stomata and monocot stomata, there is a difference in the shape of the stomata here. This dicot stomata is more like a bean shaped or kidney shaped. So it is like this. So it is like bean shaped or kidney shaped. But in case of monocot stomata, it is dumbbell shaped. We'll look at that later. So this is the dicot stomata. And the place or the area where this curve is there, it's a bit thicker than the rest of the membrane. So it's thick here. And the reason why it is thick is because the reason is during endoosmosis the water goes inside through this membrane. When the water goes inside, the membrane starts to enlarge because of the pressure inside. So it starts to enlarge. So here in this part, the membrane starts to become larger, but in this part, in the curved part, the membrane can't become larger because of the thick membrane. So what happens is this instead of becoming like this, what happens is some of the membrane is formed inside of it. So if this is the actual membrane, there is some membrane which is formed inside of it. This is the new membrane. That's why we see it is very thick because of this process. Water is going inside. This is the endoosmosis. Osmosis. So the water gets, when the water goes inside, this thing becomes large. So there is a lot of pressure. So this water hits the walls of the membrane. So the membrane becomes larger. But when this water, when it hits this membrane, some of the membrane becomes thicker and forms in the inner side of it. So that's why these membranes are a bit thicker as compared to the rest of the membrane. This is one thing. And around and this part here, this opening is known as stoma. This is the actual opening, and these cells here are called the guard cells. And guard cells are the only cells which have chloroplasts in the epidermis layer. So you can draw some chloroplasts here. So we can write that guard cells are the only epidermal cells. They are the only epidermal cells that have chloroplast. The other cells of the plant also have chloroplast, but we are only talking about only epidermal cells. So this is the epidermal tissue system. That's why we're talking about only the layer of epidermis. So the guard cells are the only epidermal cells that have chloroplasts, and this is known as stoma. Now there are some epidermal cells which surround these guard cells. So they somewhat look like this. They're very irregular in shape, big cells, and they surround these guard cells. They look like this, and they have nucleus inside them. So what are these cells basically? These cells are nothing but the epidermal cells which change their shape a bit, and they come and surround the vicinity of these guard cells, and these cells are known as subsidiary cells. Subsidiary cells. This is one more important thing. So this is about the dicot stomata. Coming to the monocot stomata, as we have said earlier, these monocot stomata are dumbbell shaped. So dumbbell means they are kind of like this. So here there is a curve again. Like that. So you can draw it a bit smaller. like that, somewhat like that. So they are a bit dumbbell shaped rather than here. It's in dicot stomata. They are bean shaped or kidney shaped. Bean shaped, and these are kind of like dumbbell shaped. And as we have told, they have chloroplast. So guard cells are the only epidermal cells that have chloroplast. We can again draw them. So here also these curved areas also are thicker. Because of this process only, the endosmosis. And yes, so this is monocot stomata and this is dicot stomata. The only difference between both of them is the shape of it. In dicot stomata they are bean shaped, and in monocot stomata they are dumbbell shaped. Now let's talk about some more important things about epidermal tissue system. That is the outgrowths of epidermis. Outgrowths means the extended parts of the main epidermal layer, or there is another term given to this outgrowths of epidermis, that is epidermal appendages. Appendages is it's a term that we give to any structures which are extending from the main body. So outgrowths of epidermis. The first one that we're going to talk about is called the hair. So hair is present in we also have root hair, which is present in roots, and shoot hair, which is present in the shoot area. So hair has root and shoot. So the hair which is present in the root is nothing but root hair, which is present in the maturation zone in the leaf tip. So here we have the root cap, calyptra, and the cells which produce the calyptra, the calyptrogen. We have the zone of cell division, zone of elongation, zone of maturation, and from the zone of maturation arises the root hair. These root hair absorb the water and minerals from the soil. So that's what it is, root hair. Shoot hair, shoot is nothing but the area above the ground. These root hair are usually unicellular. This is a very important thing. So the root hair which are present are usually unicellular. Shoot are usually multicellular. So this is root hair and shoot hair. Second thing, the second outgrowths of epidermis or second epidermal appendages is a trichome. This is also a very important thing. Now this trichome is what is the function of trichome? The function of trichome is protection. They protect the plant body. They are also present near the epidermis. They are outgrowths. So they extend. They are the structures which come out of the main plant body. Trichome, the function is protection, minimizing water loss. Minimize water loss. Also, these trichomes may be secretory. They may secrete some substances. Now, what kind of substances can they secrete? They can secrete things like some chemical poisons. They may secrete oils and all that stuff. Now, that's why the plants that have these trichomes, so the plants that have the trichomes, examples are saltbush or A triplex, the scientific name, or A triplex, and basil plants. These are some examples of plants that contain these trichomes. So when the grazing animals like cows, when they graze the different plants and grasses, they usually don't go near the trichome, the plants that contain the trichome, because these trichome can secrete some poisonous substances and chemicals as well. So this is about the outgrowths of epidermis, also known as epidermal appendages. So this is about the epidermal tissue system, which is the first kind of tissue system which is present in plants. We have taken a look at the cuticle, stomata, and what is epidermis? Outermost covering, thin cells with no intercellular spaces, and then about the guard cells, the stomata, so different shapes, bean shaped, dumbbell shaped, and then the chloroplast. So guard cells are the only epidermal cells that have chloroplast. The subsidiary cells, these are also epidermal cells only. Epidermal cells that change their shape and surround the vicinity of these guard cells. These are also epidermal cells. And this reason why this membrane is thicker than the rest of the membrane. And then we have looked at the outgrowths of epidermis, epidermal appendages, hair and trichome. So root, unicellular, shoot, multicellular, and trichomes are they help in protection, minimizing water loss, and they may be secretory as well. Examples of the plants that contain trichome are saltbush or atriplex and basset plants. So this is about the first one, that is epidermal tissue system. So there is one more called the ground tissue system and the vascular tissue system, which consists of the xylem and phloem, all of the vascular tissues. These we are going to take up in the next video.